Hi, welcome to Remote Roundtable. My name's Anaya. I'm the Director of Operations over at Indy Hall. Today we're going to be watching a roundtable between a couple of thoughtful members of our community. We started doing these roundtables because we really wanted to highlight and showcase and share one of the best things about being an Indy Hall member, which is the camaraderie and the inspiration that we all get from each other. Today we're going to be watching a roundtable about work-life balance, or lack thereof. We brought together Marty, Angel, and Sarah and asked them questions about how they've been balancing their professional and personal lives through this pandemic. So if we could all introduce ourselves with just your name, even just your first name would be fine, and pronouns. So I'll kick us off. I'm Anaya. You could use she or they. They both work perfectly fine for me.
I'm Marty. He, him.
I'm Angel, she and her.
Sarah, she and they.
So I would love to start with the basics. I was hoping we could together come up with a working definition for work-life balance. What even is it?
You have a clear divide between your work life and a clear divide between your social or sleep life or eating life or whatever is outside of work. So that's what it means to me.
The reason why I think people have trouble defining work-life balance is because we have such a weird concept of what is work. There's really no clear definition on what work is. Most of the time we talk about work societally, we talk about what you are doing to make money for a living. And that sort of devalues unpaid work, like raising a child. There's a lot of work involved. Or even just the work of maintaining your home or your apartment, or chores, which are also work. Anything that expels effort, essentially, is work. So when we talk about a work-life balance, it's honestly I would say maybe even just a ratio of effort that you expend that you are forced to do, that there are like consequences if you do not do them.
Mm-hmm.
So a ratio between that effort and the effort you put into things that you willingly choose to do. And even that is kind of not even the best definition because, you willingly choose to do a lot of things.
For me, I'm in kind of a different place right now. So I have like one tiny client that I'm doing paid work for. And then I've got 3 children in a pandemic. So it's like my other job is not dying right now. So it's kind of a strange time. But the way that I've been framing it has been joyful income. So it's not always about the financial side of it that can be financial, but it's about what is bringing joy to my day and where is it leaving space for me to also do all the other things like not dying and making sure my children are mostly passing their classes this year because I'm kind of not going to stress us all out over it at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Much to their teachers' frustration. It's easy because we're at home all the time to forget how many things we're expected of ourselves or expecting ourselves to do. So I like what Marty was saying about effort, and also Angel was saying about kind of drawing the line, like you have to draw a line between the two, or otherwise you may not give yourself the space that you need. Like I had to take a nap before this, even though I wanted to keep getting that client project done because I just wanted it to be done at this point. Sometimes I think work-life balance is not so much the big question as the smaller questions that kind of make the day go better.
There's so many things in our life that we don't think of as work or effort because they bring us joy. But I think most people will agree that having friends brings you joy, right? But having friends, maintaining a friendship, we all also agree, requires work, requires effort. Back when we could have parties, there's a lot of work that goes into planning a party, but parties are fun. And that effort brings joy. So I guess probably my work-life balance definition would, based on Sarah's input there, would probably be the ratio of joyful effort to non-joyful effort in your life.
Definitely. I think that's kind of a perfect segue to something I'm wondering about everybody here. What is bringing you joy these days, and how much of that do you feel is involved with your work, paid or unpaid?
Right before I logged on here today, I was listening to a podcast called A Very Special Episode. I'm a very huge entertainment podcast fan. I have my own podcasts, and that's how much I love podcasts. And I actually bring that in when I go to work. I answered phone calls for a huge startup in Philadelphia. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say the name of the startup, but I can have that like kind of next to my computer. So that's what brings me joy right now. And then other things, honestly, Toastmasters does, and we're going to get into like non-work at this moment. But just being a leader for Toastmasters, chartering a club that's very close to becoming an official club, like that stuff just brings me joy. And also maintaining my relationship with my boyfriend and my friendships as well.
I think I'm pretty fortunate in that I've been taking joy in my for pay work lately. And I work, this is a weird thing to say, but I work in the industry of work, right? My job is to help other people find work and to help other people get to work and make tools for people who are doing the same thing as I do. So I spend a lot of time thinking about work. And I genuinely enjoy that. This right here, this conversation that we're having is joyful for me because I get to hear from a lot of different people, and I like to take that input, and it changes the way that I do my for money job. My for money job today was very joyful for me. You know, I helped, not only did I help somebody else that was working on it, but I kind of helped myself work through some issues that I was having with that, and that brought me a lot of joy. Right now in my life, this home that my girlfriend and I are building together, we've just moved into this, and the effort that has gone into making this a place to stay in has brought me a lot of joy. And if we're being very honest, most of that effort has been on her part, not mine. I just get to enjoy that, but I get to come into my living room and have, you know, lights in the morning, and that is joyful. I spent some work making these colored lights behind us, and that brings me little small things like that. Just kind of building, yeah, a lot of the stuff that I feel like I've been working towards most of my life to get to this is starting to pay off, if not financially, joyfully anyway. So I guess that's what's bringing me joy. Plus, also, let's do the obvious answer. This crew, the Indie Hall crew, having like a group of people that most of the time I can hop onto. The Discord channel gives me great joy. Even if I'm not participating, I'm just reading other people have their needs met or other people get encouraging. That's joyful to me. It's nice to me to watch others succeed.
For me, I've been kind of reconnecting with crafting. So I knew that I was going to be stuck inside, that I was going to have to be able to kind of take space where I can. So I get a lot of enjoyment out of video games. I think I've played Mass Effect. I'm up to like 3,000 hours now over the past year. I've hit all the love stories like 4 times between consoles. So I was like, I need something else in my life. Just these RPG games, which I adore and could talk about for hours. So I have I got a Cricut maker, and I can cut just about anything now. So I can cut wood, I can cut leather, I can make cards, I can make there's like a 3D animal shape that I still have to figure out how to put together for my daughter that I gave her for Christmas. So yeah, it's been, I think, when you're going through periods of time where you are struggling to find joy, like knowing what makes you joyful, being able to build off of that is really helpful, and also being able to kind of cue that up and have it like Angel was talking about podcasts and listening to podcasts, like knowing that about herself means she can put it into her day, or just like have it kind of sitting on the back burner waiting for the times that things aren't maybe going as great. So like I'll craft while I listen to MSNBC, which is probably not the safest thing to be using knives and really intense glues while I'm listening to listening to the news right now.
Angel, I really appreciated what you were saying about kind of having podcasts just like on hand and finding something that was working for you, and just also finding a way to prioritize it. Is there, what are other ways that you all, and I'll ask you first, Angel, what's another way that you are like prioritizing joy right now?
So I'm going to be 100% honest. If something comes up that I need to get done, I'm trying not to be a procrastinator, but if something comes up that I know I need to get done in a month's time, like I have a contest to run online in about a month, I know that I have to get started now and make sure that all of my clubs for Toastmasters are going to send people for the contests, or else it's just going to go uncontested, which low key I would have loved for that to happen. But I'm actually glad for people to want to compete in the contest, or want to send people and want this to get done. It's mind you, it's hard to bring together an event. It's easier now because it's online, it's over Zoom, but it's hard when you're like, okay, how do I get these resources out here, and how do I do this, how do I do that? Then another example for me trying to get this, like, trying to balance out this work-life thing is I'm currently in customer support, but I want to move over to web development, and of course that kind of spreads out my day a little bit, because I'm like, maybe one day I'll learn how to use Next.js, which is a React, like a React, like a form of React. Or maybe one day I want to, I don't know, just lay in bed and try and catch up on some sleep because I work overnight.
Maybe that's a good transition to switch gears just a tiny bit, and like, how are you all prioritizing rest right now, and what is bringing rest to you?
But I definitely find it hard in the sense that sometimes when I'm working, I don't want to stop. And I don't always feel like I need to stop, right? So it's not like I'm gonna have to catch the 57 bus from Indy Hall, or I have to go pick up the kids from after school, or I have to make dinner, because largely during the pandemic, I've just been like, meh, I'll have a bowl of cereal. I think sometimes rest, when you're finding yourself in the same location, has to be strategic, and rest can be different. So like we were talking about lighting earlier, and I use Philips Hue lights to change. Like right now my color is going more orange because it's getting later, and so it's going brighter, but you can schedule them to do different things during different times of the day. And having things like that creates more internal cues within the home that I found really helpful in terms of helping me remember to rest. Lighting candles, creating rituals is a really big part of being able to get behind the changing of the day, which can be difficult when you're in the same room, because our brains are trained to do 40% of things by habit. So when you're seeing the same space over and over again, your brain just wants to forget because why would it save room for something it sees all the time? And then we lose a lot of our natural cues. So for me, building rituals around rest is making it a lot easier to incorporate that, to stop work, and eventually I'll get back to cooking dinner again at some point.
Back to the idea of physical space, right? the idea that you create an act for yourself in order to cue yourself, to cue your brain that it is rest time. Uh, because this happens to a lot of people who work from home. I've been working mostly from home since 2013. And also I am a person who spends a lot of time on the internet regardless. So it became this point where like, this is Marty at work, and 5 o'clock rolls around and nothing changes. Sometimes I don't even close out the tabs. Now I've made it a point to close out each and every tab and get some kind of like satisfaction from that. But it's because this is Marty at work and this is Marty at play. And the whole world became like that for the past year. And it's frustrating. Your brain doesn't get signals unless you plan signals, like with a light, to force yourself to do that. I didn't realize how deep into it I was until I switched from working primarily on a laptop to working on a desktop. Right now, my work is fixed in one place, and I was also fortunate enough now I have another room where that is. So whenever I get up and leave this room and go into the living room or the kitchen, like, I have no reason to come back here. There's no reason for me to be in this spot unless I am going to do work, or unless there's something intentional that I'm going to use for this computer. Whereas when I was working with a laptop, my bed became work. My bed became a workspace. My couch is a workspace. And that line blurred, so I couldn't tell myself to relax, because I turned my relaxation spaces, the bed, the couch, into workspaces. That physical delineation is important. And again, this is me speaking from a level of being very fortunate. Not everybody can do that. So it's a matter of maybe some kind of physical activity, maybe telling yourself that I'm going to do this thing that I like. Sarah mentioned cooking, that she hasn't been able to get back to cooking. I like to cook. Earlier this week, I knew I was going to have a particularly stressful day, and I intentionally planned to cook a somewhat labor-intensive dinner that day. So I knew once I did my stressful work, I'm going to have to go. I'm going to force myself to leave. I have to go into the kitchen and slice up the eggplant, or I have to get this going now. So you have to almost incorporate this into your schedule. Sometimes you can even put in little tests. Like, I keep my guitar next to my desk now. So if I'm feeling frustrated or tired or something, I will literally just pick it up and play a few chords. And sometimes that's enough. Sometimes I go, that cool, my battery's recharged, I can get back to work, and I'll put it back.
In your ideal balanced life, whatever that fantasy of a balanced life, does it include work? Does it include paid work?
So, okay, let me just be 100% honest.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to work if I don't have to. I'd rather have the income flowing in by something that I love to do. Preferably, if, say, Toastmasters, which is my current hobby, if that was paying me and I love to do it, I would prefer if that income was flowing in. Since I need to maintain a house, and since I need to get the bills turned on, the skill that I know the most is customer service. So I go towards that while I make my career transition. So the ideal life for me would just be to do something that I love and let the income flow in. I know that's probably not a thing that's obtainable right now, but that's just my ideal.
Obviously, there's no wrong answers here, but I almost want to push back on Angel's perspective there, if I can. So, like I said, I spend a lot of time thinking about the concept of work, and I truly, honestly believe that people like to do work. People like to put effort into things and then see payoff. And there is that like high school guidance counselor idea of if you love the work you do, you'll never work a day in your life. it is bullshit to say that if you love the work you do, it doesn't feel like work. There's actual effort in there. And so, I mean, I don't want to put words in Angel's mouth, but I feel like what she's saying is, I don't want to work for someone else. I don't want to work to make someone else money. You know, I want to have my income come from this thing that I enjoy doing. There's a almost a meme that runs around leftist circles where they say, people ask, what's your dream job? And you say, I don't dream of labor. And that it makes me frustrated, because it devalues it. It's not that you don't want to do work, it's that you want the work that you like to do to be more valued. Most people's ideal scenario is not, I would be in bed all day. Like, I feel like that would get extremely boring if we're being honest with ourselves. Nobody wants to do nothing. Your ideal scenario is that you do what you want and what you're good at and what brings you joy, and that gives you some kind of, you have your financial needs met by doing that. I think it's just a matter of your definition of work and what you value as work. You know, don't tell any stay-at-home mom that they're not doing work. That's a lie.
I'm going to push back on two things. Or I guess my perspective differentiates in a bit. One, as someone who basically lived and worked out of a bed for 2 years, let's not compare bed to doing nothing, because there are lots of people who are disabled who work full time. So not to be harsh about it or anything.
I don't know a better term to say. I apologize, but
I just say doing nothing, just because it's a cultural equivocation that would be nice to kind of put to the side. That being said, I'm not upset or anything like that. Just to clarify, I actually want to work full time because I've been in bed so much. I miss working on bigger problems. I want to solve bigger problems. I would like to work for someone else because I would like to be able to work with teams. And there are just some problems in the world that you have to have a larger group solving. Now, that being said, open source solves this a lot of times without having you work full time for someone else. But I'm a web developer. I'm digging deeper to become a web engineer, and I would like to work full time with a team. But that part of that is because I have been a web consultant for a long time. I've worked by myself. I've worked for myself, and it's more like a grass is greener probably thing than anything. I enjoyed working full time when I did. I worked in television. I worked 60-hour weeks, 90-hour weeks, and I loved it. My body is not capable of that kind of lifestyle anymore. So I think that too can kind of change your perspective of what work-life balance is when you've gone through different scenarios and you've kind of gotten a chance to know yourself in them and to see what does and doesn't work for you.
I just realized that my ideal balanced life is not a life that's staying the same for very long. And just what you're saying, like grass is always greener, like enjoying some type of balance, like reaching a point of balance, enjoying the plateau maybe, and then making some type of change so that there could be new growth and the next plateau could be maybe even better, or maybe just better because it's different. And that has, I feel like that kind of wraps me back around to the social distancing and staying at home, and how this was a pretty radical shift. Yeah, how have the last 10 months tested your balance, and how are you doing with it? Do you feel like you're overcoming or succumbing more?
I actually, in the beginning of the pandemic, I was actually in person. I was on the front lines working in retail. I only quit because of the pandemic, and I saw an opportunity to work from home with the company I'm currently at, and I snatched it up. Saw that there was not only benefits and and that I work overnight, that I work in my desk, and that something that like I saw that there was a change. I saw the people. Now this is I'm going to tell you the real reason why I quit. The other real reason why I quit the working in retail in person is because people were starting to be a little petty when it came to things, when it came to their needs not being met, and it was starting to grade me and grade me and grade me, and then I snapped, and I was like, I'm done. So and when I saw the opportunity at the company I work at, now while it's the same things happening, but it's different because you're not in person. People are not angry at you because they ran out of wipes or they ran out of toilet paper. But all it is that like is that like the driver's not getting here fast enough, or I don't know where my order is, or or it's stuff that I can manage right now. Whether I can manage that in a few months, I don't know. But right now, working home for me, and then having having the stuff in order for me to have like if I do get upset like certain things, I know who to turn to. I see my therapist on over Zoom as well. I have medication management. I do have mental health issues as well. My bed's literally right here. So if I need to take my work laptop to my bed and just work off my bed for a moment while I calm down, or when I take my 15-minute break, my bed's right there just to like de-stress. I have trinkets and stuff like that around my desk for when like a customer is starting to get on my nerves, and I just squeeze a little thing away. So just to kind of summarize, the way I'm handling the pandemic is I'm pretty much taking it one day at a time, willing to make the adjustments needed. If I need to go outside, I can go outside. Since Delaware County is a little bit more lax than Philadelphia is, from my understanding, I'm just doing what I can to do at a very difficult time.
It's been hard to break myself of defining my worth by my productivity, which is a thing that I tell everyone else to do, right? It's a thing that it's a mantra I tell other people, but it's difficult. It's difficult for me to break myself of the idea that I need to be making progress on something every single day. I have to sit and think to myself, can I afford to lose my shit today? Like there are days, sometimes there are full-on weeks where you just cannot. Whatever it is, whatever is happening, you can't focus. The tasks that are in front of you seem like they're not important, right? It's hard to do small things when you don't know what the future is, or sometimes when it feels like there isn't a future. I struggle with it a lot. I struggle with, even though I'm relatively financially secure, I have kind of the resonations of times when I haven't been. So I have to literally look at my bank account almost like an OCD, like an obsessive thing, to see if I can afford to be as upset as I am. And that is one of the saddest statements I think I've ever made. And I've broken myself, I think, somewhat successfully of that habit. I've gotten into a mode where I can just let myself exist for a day or two. I don't need, or I can look at my list of things, and if only one thing works, great, cool, I got one thing done today. But it's not easy, and it's taken 10 months, and I can't guarantee you that I'll be able to do it tomorrow.
I'm sure you all have heard this, but we lost like 144,000 jobs last month, and they were all accounted for by women, and women of color specifically. And that I found that really true. And like I feel that in my bones, sort of a way. And at the same time, it's also really stressful. And I wanted to acknowledge that because I am not working outside the home. I'm currently barely living off of spousal support as I navigate a divorce. So in some ways, I'm lucky right now, and there's still a lot of financial pressures that are coming along with that because it's not enough. Um, but in some ways, I'm really lucky in that those immediate day-to-day calculations of I my rate is 145 an hour, and so if I go take a nap for an hour, I've lost $145. I've I've largely worked those out of my system through through going through cancer and doing some different things over the last few years. That being said, I had finally got my last kid into kindergarten and was so looking forward to not having daycare bills. And then the pandemic hit, and now all of a sudden I've got to find a job, re enter the job force um, for the first time after doing consulting for 10 years with 3 kids at home with me while being disabled from cancer and trying to rehabilitate myself to a large degree. So I would say the pandemic definitely has brought a lot more challenges. And if you have any femme women in your life, especially um, if you have any women of color or Black women, like Angel was talking about being in retail before, just check in on people because the stress levels are not all equal for all of us. I'm very privileged in that because I worked in consulting and web development while I was having all my kids. I have a lot of tools in my kit when it comes to working with kids at home. I have a decent desk set up. I have a laptop. And well, I definitely agree with Marty that it makes it harder to stop because it's easy to come take it with you. I've built habits around being able to, quit work and go do something else for a little bit. Crafting helps. My crafting desk is right behind my regular desk. Um, I have a desk set up for bed. I have a desk set up in my bedroom for doing calls if I want to sit. And then I also have a big desk with a monitor, and then I chase my children to other parts of the house. So I absolutely have to. It's hard to lose that 40 hours a week that the kids were supposed to be somewhere else, having someone else help them with homework through the amazing after school programs that we have in Philadelphia, having other teachers help and support them. And then now it's like I'm their only support. And I try to get them, we're getting support through Zoom, we're getting through support through other organizations, but they're still at home. It doesn't feel the same to them. And, it's a challenge. So I'm very much looking forward to the vaccine, and I'm looking forward to whatever, we get to take with us from this period of time. I keep trying to remind myself that when I am working full time and they're in school full time, that I'm going to look back at this time and be like, oh, that was so nice. We got to have all this time together. At least that's what I tell myself. So I think taking the moments that we can, and not saying it's all rosy, but it's definitely making it easier to get through the day to day.
I have one last question for all of you today. What's your desert island? If you could only have 5 things that aided your work-life balance and finding it or maintaining it, hobbies, habits, tools, maybe a pet. If you could only choose 5 things that were really helping you right now, I wonder what those would be. I'll go first, give you a second to think about it. Definitely the animals. My cat demands attention. She will happily interrupt whatever I am doing and demand attention. And it's usually, I'm like, you know what, you're right. I have spent enough time on this computer or this screen or whatever. It's definitely not as important as giving you a pet. And then God bless the dog for taking me out on walks multiple times a day. Definitely co-crafting and co-planning with Indie Hall folks is like really critical to me right now. I've been doing a pretty good job of cooking a new recipe or like some type of interesting or like labor intensive food thing, like at least once a month or once a week I try, but like doing something crazy with like a pressure cooker and 25 ingredients like once a month. What's that for? Oh, the Kindle. Cannot. I don't think I would last a week without my Kindle. I'll just plug Indie Hall. I couldn't do any of this without all of you. That's my fifth thing.
Let's see. So I would make the argument that my cats make things much harder. It makes it much harder to do work. One in particular really likes to do this, like her favorite game is, getting herself at hand level, so she can get pets. Great, sure. Except when I'm sitting here, hand level is where my computer tower is, right here. And every once in a while, that little paw hits that little power button. That has happened numerous times. So I'm gonna, I will count those two cats, but they certainly make work harder. They make it harder to do things, not easier. But I'm gonna count them anyway. I mentioned before that, I keep my guitar and other instruments here. I've gotten back into making music. It was a thing that I put aside for a very long time, and that has helped me a lot. It just kind of rediscovering an appreciation for that. Like Anea, I do make it a point to make a large meal or make something unique or interesting. And kind of a subset of that is I can still go to the grocery store. And I love grocery stores. And I'm fortunate, I don't have a real set schedule, so I can go to a grocery store at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday when no one is there. And there's something very zen, very peaceful about that. Like just the hum of the fridges and things. It's nice. Like that's a relaxing spot for me. And I just kind of wander around until something screams out to me, like, buy me. Like, do I have 3 or 4? I don't know. I can also plug Indie Hall in this community. Like, that has helped me a lot. And I'm going to count those as my 5. Yeah. And this thing that I've got in my hand that I've been, focusing with.
Borrowing some from you two. Of course, my cats. I did just hear one of them behind me laying on something. So, fortunately, because of the range of motion of my headphones, I can't see which cat it is. Of course, I put Indie Hall / with the caveat. Just everybody who supported me. I didn't mention this, but I do have coworkers who I bond with at my job that have been amazing to me. And then of course Indie Hall, because where would I be without Kara's Tea Time for All Time Zones? Because I could not do the coffee chat anymore because I work overnight. Of course, these trinkets. I'm just gonna. And I have Kevin Smith right here. So that's another trinket. He's not coming out of the box. Then to piggyback to earlier, 4 and 5 are kind of the same. My phone, without my phone, I wouldn't listen to podcasts, or I listen to music, or I wouldn't. Another kind of interest I have is watching a lot of YouTube videos and learning a lot. And my computer. Because, and not the one that I'm on right now, I have a laptop right behind me. and not my work computer right here. So I have 3 computers. How that happened? So, but I'm talking about the computer behind me, because I love learning as well. So why not? And some of the learning involves me putting Ubuntu on my computer and just seeing how that works, and doing web development and kind of learning those skills that I didn't think they were in me, but I love them so much. Yeah, but definitely, and I do want to also highlight that Indie Hall has been great to me during the pandemic. I love you too. And like, it goes beyond words.
My 5 things would be my noise canceling headphones. Because even though I'm on a desert island, there's going to be a monkey somewhere making noise. And I have desk trinkets as well that I would definitely want to bring along. I'm just not at my desk right now. My computer, probably both my computers, because I do podcasting on my Windows computer that I technically bought for my children, but yeah, I borrow it all the time. So you're not happy about. And yeah, I would say Indie Hall. Indie Hall's a touchstone. Like, I always come back to it, even when I've been busy or I haven't been online as much, and so I haven't been around as much. I just, in the last couple of weeks, started really navigating the Discord section. It took me 2 days to figure out how to leave an audio channel. I just kept jumping from room to room, which was actually kind of an effective way to get to know the audio groups. But I finally was like, I'm going to have to just Google it. It's not going to come to me easily. And see, I'm at 3, right? Okay. My pens and things, I prefer to do the online passion planner if I can, but my Apple Pencil broke. But I love doing the digital stickers. I love using highlighters. It's just very kind of refreshing in the middle of busyness to be able to feel like I can organize the busyness, but also have some fun with it. And then my crafting stuff. I love my Cricut and all the stuff that comes with it. It's really nice to be able to do an entire crafting project in 30 minutes. So it's actually something I can fit in between other things, which is nice. And then it gives me that little flash of productivity without actually having to feel like actually having to completely exhaust myself. Because I think that is probably one of the biggest changes. It's as exhausting, like I do think the pandemic is exhausting. I'm finally coming to like admit that to myself. That, it, even my friends that don't have children or aren't dealing with these different things are exhausted, and that it's okay to kind of deal with that element. So yeah.
I kind of noticed a couple common threads. I feel like we all named a couple things, even if the things themselves weren't in common, but something that will help learn something new, which I think is very optimistic of us all to still be wanting to like expand our knowledge in different areas. Things to like really connect with, like pets and people, and bringing some type of like joy through intimacy into our lives right now, and also like ways to stay busy that don't hurt, as my therapist says, like ways to like pass time is not actively painful. Also like the essential tools of getting the work done, because work is also a part of this balance. I'm going to thank all of you once again for coming and for embarking on this conversation with me. I definitely learned a lot. Thank you once again to all of our panelists, and thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed today's remote roundtable. For more events remote roundtables and the rest of our events. There's a bunch of fun ones. You can check out all of our social media or head to indiehall.org/events. Of course, if you're interested in membership or a tour, you can go to indiehall.org. If you have any questions about Remote Roundtable, future events, our panelists, membership, or just want to get set up for a tour, you can always email team@indiehall.org. Hopefully one day I'll see you online.